welcome. This is Gamil Grant here from Mayfield for another one of our podcast series in the CXO of the future and the CXO AI journey to the future, in a sense, sort of where things are at from an AI perspective. I'm really honored to have our special guest today, Balaji Viswanath from Tyson. Welcome today. And you are the Managing Director of Emerging Technology there at Tyson Foods in Arkansas. You're also the Head of Architecture and Software Engineering. I wonder, Balaji, if you wouldn't mind just giving a little bit more of your background for the audience today.
Glad to, Gamil. Thank you, first of all. It's great to be here. I've had the privilege of being in the technology industry for about 26 years or so now. The first 20 of which was spent in a core technology company, and the last 6 years-ish in Tyson Foods. If I look back at my career over the last 25 plus years, I'd say that the first 5, 6 of which was built in building technology, building products and solutions that we could use in-house. The last 10 to 15 years were predominantly spent trying to deploy technology to really understand what tech can do to add business value. So if you talk about areas, my career has spanned e-commerce, digital marketing, order management, a lot of core technology work. Very recently, AI, generative AI, big data work, ton of time spent in analytics, trying to build cloud native, scalable data analytics platforms to help the business really gain actionable insights from data. So it's been a privilege to be a part of very high performing teams that have really done all the work and made me look very good along the journey. And most recently, very passionate about what GenAI can do to the industry and what GenAI can do to add value to us. So
great. Well, what an awesome background, Balaji. So let's dive into the first question that I want to get into, which is, we're hearing a lot about AI. It seems to be in every press publication that there is, both IT related and business related. Lots of superlatives about how impactful it will be. But from your perspective, with a long history of doing analytics work and architecture work and software engineering at a large organization, let's talk about the priority that IT leaders like yourself should be putting on generative AI. And you've got a long history of doing various analytics projects, RPA, and otherwise things. From your experience, why is this different?
AI is different primarily because of the fact that it's evolving this rapidly, and there's a sense of, oh, am I missing out? So the pace of evolution, the pace of paradigm shift, if you look back at the last 1 year after the introduction and the going public of ChatGPT and its capabilities, I think the leap that GenAI in specific has taken as a technology with evolutions and new products and new offerings every day, there is a sense of we better do something about it, otherwise we'll get left behind. So it is starting to become a very huge priority for most companies that I speak to, including ours.
Yeah, that's great. So then, well, you've been at this a while. What have you learned thus far? I mean, what sort of lessons learned or even advice would you give to somebody who's in an IT leadership position when it comes to taking advantage of generative AI?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things I could talk about. One, start with the business problem. I mean, it goes back to, I had said this in the past about the fact that AI and data science in an unprecedented manner are now forcing a convergence between what was traditionally IT and what was traditionally a business team. I think data science is bringing together these two disciplines very, very efficiently. I think one, start with the business problem. Don't go after tech for the sake of tech or AI for the sake of AI. The second thing I would say is chew in what they call bite-sized chunks. So one of the ways we try to explore generative AI and try to bring it into our company is start with a small business problem, engage very closely with our business partners, deploy something as quickly as you can, and see if you can get value quick enough out of what you've deployed. And if you see value, then you expand on it, invest a little more, and make it, take it big. But if you don't see value quickly, it's easier to fail fast and move on to the next thing and see if you can bring in value. Chew in bite-sized chunks, start with business problems instead of doing tech for the sake of tech, and keep your options wide open. Today, every hyperscaler that we work with has a significantly large AI offering. it would be, in my opinion, short-sighted to think that we'd go with one and only one. I think all these offerings are very nuanced in their own right, and I think having MLOps and foundational platforms that allow us to exploit the best capabilities from each and every one of these offerings would also be a key learning that I have gathered over the last few months.
Yeah, that's a great summary. So let's move into sort of the business impact metrics, meaning let's assume that in your role, you're getting asked to build a number of different AI deployments or projects. The different business leaders are coming to you with new ideas. How do you cut through all of the potential use cases with a metric that matters? And what are those metrics that matter?
Yeah, that's a very good but a very complex question, because if there is one area that I probably have the most number of discussions on in my day job, it's about, hey, how do you determine or how do you understand value of this once it's deployed? It's a complex question to ask, and there's broadly two kinds of value that we look at. One is value that impacts bottom line, which is around efficiencies in manufacturing, anything we can do to get more efficient as a company, and what AI and Gen AI can do to help us get more efficient. And the other area of value that we look at is what we call top line value and growth. Does this help us improve our top line growth?
Yeah.
There's also a significant amount of thoughts around how can we employ AI to improve our team member and employee experience across the company. Again, we started the business problem, try and size the opportunity. I did meet a few people recently that were specifically focused on using AI to do opportunity sizing, so that they can look at an opportunity
Interesting.
and say,
Yep.
hey, even before you embark on this opportunity, what AI can we use to size this opportunity? You see,
Yep.
so that's our approach, is to engage with our business partners, try and get as close an articulation value as possible to a good dollar figure that we can go after, approach problems in small iterative chunks, fail forward fast, move on to the next thing, and hopefully we will arrive at a good value proposition for a large AI project. I will tell you though that an integral aspect of value is, essentially benefit minus cost. So one of the things that we are working on actively with all our partners is, what does generative AI really cost? We are still yet to meet a company that has truly figured this out, because there's a compute aspect to it, there is a training aspect to it, there's a data aspect to it, there's a analytics aspect to it. So we are hyper focused on trying to understand what generative AI really costs, and use that to understand true value.
Yeah, I love the balance of not just efficiency and top line, but impact to your employees, but then couple that with what's the true cost, the true underlying costs of not just the data, but tuning it, training it, et cetera. All right, so let's move to the next question. We've been in an industry that's been transforming IT landscape to a cloud-based model, SaaS-based solutions, whereby we don't build custom solutions anymore, but this is an environment where maybe building again becomes a must-have. Do you believe that to be true? So what's the buy versus build thesis that you believe we should be thinking?
Especially being in enterprise architecture, this is a question that we get confronted with very frequently. Do you buy or do you build? We started off with a very traditional base layer type approach, where we said, hey, if it's a system of record, and if somebody in the industry already does it extremely well, then why reinvent the wheel? Go buy it instead of trying to build it. And anything that we think is differentiated, we go after building it. When you talk about this traditional tenet as far as AI is concerned, I would say, especially for generative AI, it's too early for us to see if we have to go buy or if we have to go build. Now, there are use cases where it makes a lot of sense for us to bring. There's two types of looking at it. One is either we send our data out or we bring the AI in. So there are a few use cases where it makes sense for us to bring open source or other models inside our company, train them with our data, deploy and see value. There are a few other bigger use cases where we need the firepower of externally well-trained, hyperscaler hosted, managed type models.
Let's go to the next question, which is there's a lot of emerging technology. There's potentially a lot of headwinds, meaning you've got some things pushing against you to actually deploy. But what are as you look at it from a very high level, what are the gaps in technology and what are the issues you have to address?
Yeah, I mean, like I already mentioned, Gamiel, I think the first thing we're trying to figure out is what is the true cost of generative AI? What is the true cost of deploying and scaling a generative AI product inside a company like ours and trying to see value? So that's our first area of trying to understand. And from a skill standpoint, prompt engineering is starting to become an extremely important skill. I did speak with a few people recently that were starting to invest in AI to do intelligent prompt engineering, which I thought was very interesting. Prompt engineering is a skill that we're starting to invest in, and that is starting to be a multidisciplinary thing. It's not so much only a pure technology play. It's not like you get the best programmer to write the best prompts. It's starting to become a very interdisciplinary thing. So prompt engineering is another area that I see will grow significantly in the future. And last but not the least, I think compute. We have been in discussions with a few people that are willing to deploy AI models for us. The cost is at this point quite untenable without understanding the value. So I believe that achieving a balance between cost and value is another area or a gap that the industry will need to focus on and address pretty quickly.
Yeah, those are great. All right, so final question. We hear a lot about responsible AI. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about this. I'm sure in most companies. For us, there are a few things that we go by. One is anything that we build, we very clearly say, do not let this be the only decision point. This is but an input into an overall decision making. So, in a sense, saying that while AI can possibly do a task, a job is a very different thing. A job includes cognitive aspects to it, and we don't believe we are there yet with AI as an industry where the cognitive aspect is even close to where a human being needs to look at it. So one, we don't allow we don't put AI in places where we really need to make decisions. We look at AI as an augmenter of decision making as opposed to being a decision maker in and of itself. Security is a big concern. We do not indiscriminately send data outside the company to AI models that can use our data, infer, and provide us outputs. We are very careful about how we use our data. We truly treat data as an asset. Last but not the least, we focus a lot on explainability. We try to understand why an AI model or a generative AI model provides the inferences that it does. There is a team that's starting to look at explainability in AI. So these are three areas where we believe generative AI and AI in general has to be used very responsibly.
Yeah, that's great. Balaji, thank you so much for spending time with us today. This is Gamil Gran here with Mayfield for one of our podcast series known as the CXO Journey to an AI Future. So Balaji, thank you for being our special guest today. And thank you everybody for listening.
Great to be a Gmail. It was a pleasure speaking with you.